waka-waka-waka-waka-waka-waka-waka.
Yes, that's Pac-Man.
Let's game! Make a game! What's a game? What's your name? I'm a Kamen Rider.
I got Pac-Man fever! Yeah, this living pie chart is a straight-up legend. 100% arcade icon. Ask any gamer out there, and probably 9 times out of 10, they know who Pac-Man is. The dude's pretty much on every gaming platform ever made, official or not. He's got a whole series of games dating back to 1980. Sequels, spin-offs, sequels to spin-offs. He's had 2 animated series, he's been the inspiration for a hit song, he's Bandai Namco's sole representative in Smash Bros, he made an appearance in a Kamen Rider movie, he even has his own restaurant and arcade in Schaumburg, Illinois. It's actually where I got my new hat. To say this simple mascot has had an impact on video games would be like saying that Curly Lambeau had an influence on football in Green Bay. But none of this would have even come to pass were it not for the success of that simple maze game that got planted in arcades, pizza joints, and roller rinks across Japan and the US. Surely Namco did something right with this, right? I mean, this company's been synonymous with arcade prolifery probably since before they even knew Bandai was in the game business. So just what was it they were onto? Well, that's what I want to talk about here. Seriously, when's the last time I dedicated a video to arcades? Like 6 years ago? Truth is, there are several reasons that the original Pac-Man was so successful. In particular, its aesthetic which appealed to a wide demographic, the way it exemplified good game design in the early days of gaming, and simply being at the right place at the right time. You see, Namco at the time were relatively new to the gaming scene. When they first released Pac-Man in 1980, their first full-on arcade game, F1, was roughly 4 years old. Before then, they'd been in the business of those kiddie rides you'd see at your local department store way back in the day. The founder of the company, Masaya Nakamura, wanted to steer the company towards the infant gaming industry to compete with the likes of Atari, who was dominating the arcades with games like Asteroids. The development of the game was headed by Toru Iwatani, leading a team of 9 people. The original Japanese title was called Pac-Man, or Puck-Man. This title had a double meaning, alluding to the puck-like shape of the character and the Japanese onomatopoeia for eating. When the game initially released in 1980, it was initially overshadowed by games like Space Invaders. In fact, Namco themselves were pushing another of their own games, Rally X, as their tentpole release at a prominent trade show that year. When Namco licensed the game to American publisher Bally Midway for American release, they changed the name to Pac-Man so that miscreants wouldn't find any satisfaction from vandalizing the machines. And it was in America where the game took off like a home run from Christian Yelich. The game grossed over $1 billion within a year, not only surpassing Asteroids as the best-selling arcade game in North America, but even making more money than Star Wars. Suck on that in a pile of sand, Darth Vader. Even Nakamura himself was blown away by the game's success. But hey, success happens for a reason. A few reasons, in fact. 2 of these reasons in particular are connected to how simple games had to be way back in the golden age of arcades due to the more restrictive technology at the time. We didn't have this Unreal Engine, Unity. Games had to be a lot smaller. You typically had 2 buttons or less, if even that, and you'd be lucky if the action even scrolled anywhere. That's why companies had to make games that had clear objectives so that players could tell what to do at a glance. Games like Asteroids, you fly on your ship and blast rocks. Space Invaders, you fly on your ship and blast aliens so that they don't land on the Earth. Even one of Namco's earlier titles, Galaxian, you were again just blasting aliens so that they didn't turn your ship into a sprite-based explosion. Pac-Man was like that too, with the whole maze thing. Just from looking at it, it was pretty clear what your objective was. The maze was full of dots, so one would immediately think, hey, those dots are probably what I need to collect. You also had the Ghost Gang, and as we all know, ghosts are creatures that were meant for you to run from. So these 4 colorful creepers were obviously the enemies, and despite the simple design of the game, each of the ghosts had their own behavior. The red ghost, originally named Blinky, would hound your butt, Pinky would try to ambush you by popping up in front of your mouth, Inky, the aqua dude, would alternate between chasing after you and running away, and the orange dude, who was originally Clyde, would chase you if he was far away, but once you got close he'd run for the lower left corner. So how do you deal with them? Well, besides the attract mode, your eyes would be drawn to the big flashy dots and you'd think, hey, these big dots must be important somehow. So you eat one, all the ghosts turn blue, and you think, maybe that means I can turn the tables on these pranksters. Also, occasionally some fruit would appear in the center of the maze, and once again, that idea of importance pops into your head. And sure enough, boom! Bonus points! So yeah, simple gameplay, clear objective. Basically what you need to make sure that any new players aren't confused by your game once they pop a quarter in the cabinet. But getting people to drop the tokens in the first place takes more than what happens once the game starts. You gotta draw people in, and that's the other element of Pac-Man's simplicity. You see the what, but how about the why? Why does this character look like a pie chart? Why these colorful ghosts that turn blue when you chomp the power pellets? Why the woo-woos and the waka-waka-wakas? And why these funny intermission cutscenes? Well, this decision was specifically made to appeal to a different demographic, specifically, girls. You see, minigames at the time were stuff like space shooters and racing games, the kind of stuff that mainly appealed to boys, you know, before people decided that traditional gender roles were kind of outdated. A boy can wear a dress if he wants to, damn it! A lot of us know the old story about Pac-Man's design being partly inspired by a pizza with a slice missing, but the other part of the character's design was Iwatani wanting to base it off the kanji for mouth, kuchi. Well, Toru and crew obviously did something right. In fact, according to a 1982 estimate, roughly 60% of Pac-Man players were female. As far as why Iwatani decided on the whole eating stuff to gain power, it's because of Popeye. Yeah, power pellets aren't exactly spinach, but it's basically the same purpose. So yeah, simple concept, clear objectives, and a colorful aesthetic that appealed to a wider demographic than most games at the time. Pac-Man was a title that exemplified what made an arcade game fun, and as a result, the game enjoyed the incredible success that I mentioned earlier. And with success often comes a franchise. Many games would follow in several genres, including platforming, racing, puzzles, whatever Pac-Man 2 The New Adventures is supposed to be. But another thing that came out of the success of older arcade games was the possibility of bootlegs. Yep, not every game that starred the Yellow Dot Muncher or even played like him was official. Not long after the release of the original, an enhancement kit entitled Crazy Otto was developed by a group of programmers working for the General Computer Corporation. The kit had multiple mazes, bouncing fruit, different ghost AI, a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, bootlegs aren't exactly legal. The people at GCC actually had to settle a lawsuit with Atari over an enhancement kit for Missile Command while Crazy Otto was being developed. One of the terms of the settlement being that they couldn't distribute any other enhancement kits without the manufacturer of the original game's permission. In the case of Pac-Man, GCC thought said manufacturer was Midway, who was getting a little impatient with Namco regarding the release of their sequel, which was actually Super Pac-Man. So they bought the rights to Crazy Otto and worked with GCC to prepare the game for release. The result was none other than Ms. Pac-Man. That's right, the wildly popular sequel to Pac-Man, which introduced his female counterpart, began as a bootleg. The point I'm trying to make here is that the Pac-Man franchise has had such an impact on gaming and has made a lot of money for many companies. And the fact that it all started with a single, simple, well-made game is quite amazing. Equally amazing is how well the game's formula still holds up today, and how Namco's been able to make more modern variations while maintaining the strong foundation of the original. Pac-Man Vs. was a cult hit on the GameCube, and it even made it into the Switch version of Namco Museum. Pac-Man Battle Royale is a common find in modern arcade chains like Dave & Buster's with its fun multiplayer. Pac-Man Championship Edition challenges your skills and reflexes in pursuit of a high score. It goes to show you how a solid formula in the right place at the right time can leave a lasting impact. Not bad for a living pie chart.
I'm the Quarter Guy, and while Pac-Man is one of the most influential games in history, it's only one of a laundry list of games that Namco made famous. I'll get to several of them in due time. And who knows, while I'm at it, I might as well get to some games that aren't made by Namco.
Okay, ridiculous armor forged from the remains of kaiju-sized beasts? Check. Absurdly oversized weapon that no human should be able to wield? Check. A full stock of medicines and supplies made from God knows what kinds of plants and fungus that really should have been tested for safety first? Check. Okay, final preparations are complete, so it's time to bring out the stars of the show. Oh boys! Next time, top 10 favorite Monster Hunter monsters. It's game time!